Hello, semester 6 students. Subject or your course is lexicography. As you know, we talked about lexicography before, and we said that lexicography is the study of dictionaries. And our main concern is with words, not the spoken, but the written ones. And we have said that orthographic word in writing consists of letters and also separated by spaces. We have differentiated between words and lexemes. And we said that a lexeme is the most important word that included in a dictionary because it is the root, and dictionaries strips away any bound morphemes, and they include only the base or the root, or what we call the lexeme. Lexeme also can be more than one orthographic word. Our lecture today mainly about words and related to morphology. As the title reads, taking words to pieces. As you know, last lecture we talked about a word as a morpheme. And morphemes can be divided into free morpheme, or the root, or the lexeme, or the base if you want, and bound morpheme. We add affix or affixation to the root, and this affixation or affix can be at the beginning of a word, and we call them prefix, or at the end, and we call them suffix. So this is mainly we are going to deal with morphemes today. In the course of our discussion, we have mentioned terms like affix and suffix, okay, which are parts of words. This section looks at the analysis of words into their constituent elements and suggests some terms that will be useful in talking about word structure. So our main concern is word structure. First of all, as we have mentioned before, we need to denote an element of a word, which is the morpheme. Words are composed of morphemes. Many words, sometimes called simple words, consists of only one morpheme, like bed, dream, go, in, over, please, shallow, treat, usual, vote, whole, and yellow. I'd like to draw your attention that we are dealing with morphemes, not with syllables. Syllables, that's something else related to phonology. Here we have all of these words are called the base or the root or lexemes. They are lexemes. Here are some words composed of more than one morpheme. More than one morpheme. For instance, bedroom, dreamy, going, living, overland, displease, shallowest, mistreatment, usually, voters, wholemeal, yellowish. As you can see from these words that we have here two parts of a word. One part is the base or the free morpheme or the root, and the added one, which is the bound morpheme. Here we have, for instance, we have something like a compound. Look at the first one, bedroom. We have two roots here, bed and room. So where the head is room and bed is the modifier. So a room where people sleep. Dreamy changed from a noun, dream, into an adjective by adding the suffix y. Going, the verb go, becomes present participle by adding ing, continuous or progressive, or sometimes can be a gerund in another sentence. Living, here we have verb plus preposition. Bedroom, noun plus noun. This one, verb plus preposition. Living here becomes an adjective sometimes. If we say living mother or living grandma. A woman who lives with us, for instance, we say living. Overland, we have preposition plus noun. Displease, the bound morpheme, dis and please, and here this gives the negative meaning. Shallowest, this is an adjective. Superlative, est, shallow, shallowest, shallower, as a comparative. Mistreatments like displease, treatment noun. Usually, adverb ly changed from adjective usual into usually. So ly is a bound morpheme and the lexeme is usual. Voters, we have to be careful about this one. We have vote and this R is a bound morpheme, and also we have the S. So here we have three parts, free morpheme, vote, and two suffixes, the R and the S. Whole meal, it's like a bedroom, and yellowish, yellow and yellowish. Okay, each of these words has as one of its morphemes a simple word from the earlier list which forms the root, or in the case of compounds like bedroom, one of the roots of the word. The root morpheme is the kernel of the word, the base, the free morpheme, with the main meaning, which is modified by morphemes in various ways. As we said, room, bedroom, room is modified by bed. So, compounds are composed of two or more root morphemes: bedroom, live-in, overland, whole meal. These compounds have a variety structures in terms of the word class membership of the roots. For instance, as I said, we have these compounds can be noun plus noun, bedroom, verb plus preposition, live-in, for instance, preposition, noun, overland, adjective, noun. Many compounds are like bedroom, where the first part modifies the second, and the word class of the compound is that of the second part. In this case, a noun, a bedroom, is a kind of room. The other three components are different. Living with a preposition as second part is an adjective, as in a living nanny. Overland with a noun as a second part is either an adjective, an overland journey, or an adverb, we're traveling overland. And wholemeal again with a noun as a second part is an adjective, wholemeal bread. So the whole compound is an adjective of the noun bread. The other words in the list are all composed of root plus affix. What is affix? Affix is the general term for morphemes that cannot be used by themselves as simple words, what we call bound morpheme. They could not stand on their own, they need free morpheme, like this, ly, un, in, and so forth. They only occur bound. They need another morpheme with them to another morpheme. If they occur before the root and so are bound to the right, they are called prefixes. At the beginning of a word, we call them prefixes. Example, this in displease. If they occur after the root and so are bound to the left, they are suffixes. Example, in yellowish, wish, ish, in yellowish. Note that when writing affixes, the convention is to put a hyphen. The rule is to put a hyphen on the side where the affix is bound. But this rule doesn't exist now and can be changed. You don't need to use a hyphen anymore, i.e. to the right of prefixes and to the left of suffixes. Okay, some of these suffixes mark inflections. This is very important. Now, bound morpheme can be inflected for plural, for possession, and for tense. Go and ing, present participle. Shallowest, superlative, that's in adjectives. We use either AR for comparative or EST for regular adjectives, of course. Voters, plural. We have here vote. This is the free or the root. Voter. This is changed and we'll talk about it. And S is inflected for plural. There are no inflectional prefixes in English. This is very clear. There are no inflectional prefixes in English. So, only suffixes can be inflected for plural, for tense, or for possession, like possessive S, plural S, and third person S. Gives, he gives, for instance. That's the third person. The other affixes represent derivations. Okay. So we have to differentiate, we have to distinguish between inflection and derivation. Derivations, very important, especially in English language, unlike inflections. The addition of the affix creates a new derived lexeme. So, in inflection, we have just show that the verb present is third person present, or present participle, we add ing, or plural S, or with the possessive s. But here, no. In inflection, we do not change the meaning of the lexeme, no. But in derivations, the addition of the affix creates a new derived lexeme. You remember usual, usually. Adjective changed into adverb. We would expect it to be entered in a dictionary somewhere. Though, as we shall see, dictionaries vary in how they treat derivations. The addition of a suffix usually changes the word class of the root. So, though a prefix rarely does. Example, dream noun plus y, dreamy adjective. So here, derivation, the addition of the affix creates a new derived lexeme. So here we have a noun changed into an adjective. This plus please, please verb, displease a verb. So the first one suffix, the second one just the prefix only changes the meaning, but the suffix gives a new form of the word or the lexeme. So here no change in this one, the same verb, but here the suffix y changed the noun into an adjective. Mistreat, verb, mistreat, verb, no change, just the meaning changed, like happy, unhappy, pleased, displeased, and so on. Mistreat, M-E-N-T, mistreatment, noun, changed from a verb into a noun. Usual, adjective, L-Y, usually, adverb. Vote, verb, E-R, voter, changed into a noun. Yellow, adjective, plus ish, I-S-H, yellowish, adjective. No change here. So, still the yellow is there, but as we said, we say not always, but usually. So there are some exceptions. Note that an inflectional suffix, example, the plural s on voters is always the final suffix in a word. And this is true for s plural. S plural, plural, always at the end of a word. Mistreat, M-E-N-T, mistreatment, noun, verb into a noun, usual, adjective, L-Y, usually, adverb, vote, verb, voter, noun, yellow, adjective, yellowish, adjective, still the same. Note that an inflectional suffix, example, the plural s on voters is always final suffix. We might conclude from our discussion of morphemes so far that roots are always free, okay? i.e. can occur as simple lexemes, and affixes, which can be prefix or suffix, or sometimes rarely infix in English, are always bound, i.e. they need a root to attach to. To summarize, a word is composed of one or more morphemes. A morpheme may function as a root or as an affix. Prefix, what do I mean by affix or affixation? Prefix or suffix. A root morpheme is usually free. An affix is always bound. Bound roots are usually combining forms from Greek or Latin. Morphological description. Let us talk about morphology. The difference between derivational and inflectional morphemes is worth emphasizing. So here we have the derivational and the inflectional. The inflectional, we do not change the root or the word, but in derivational we end up with a different word in English. An inflectional morpheme never changes the grammatical category of a word, never change the category or the category grammar of a word. Adverb, adverb, adjective, adjective. Book, books, no change. So this is the plural S, still a book. One book, many books, for instance. For example, both old and older are adjectives. The ER inflection here from Old English, they call it ra, simply creates a different version of the adjective, which is the comparative, to compare between two things, for instance. He's older than me. However, a derivational morpheme can change the grammatical category of a word. Here we have to change the word. The verb teach becomes the noun teacher. Teach verb, teacher, the noun, because of the suffix er. Here, this is not inflectional but derivational. We change the verb into a noun. If we add the derivational morpheme er from Old English era, so the suffix er in modern English can be an inflectional morpheme as part of an adjective and also a distinct derivational morpheme as part of a noun. Teach, teacher. Just because they look the same, er, doesn't mean they do the same kind of work. So here we have to take care and differentiate between two types of bound morphemes, the derivational and the inflectional. The inflectional the inflectional morphemes do not change the word class, but in derivational word class is changed. Whenever there is a derivational suffix and an inflectional suffix attached to the same word, they always appear in that order. First, the derivational er is attached to teach, then the inflectional s is added to produce teachers. So the first one, we have the lexeme or the root first, and then the derivational morpheme, and then the inflectional. As we can see here in teacher. You teach, then s added, so we have teach, teacher er, and the s. Er, this is the derivational, changed noun, a verb into a noun, and we have the inflectional for plural, s. Armed with all these terms for different types of morphemes, we can now take most sentences of English apart and list all the elements. For example, in the sentence, this is a good exercise, okay? The child's wildness shocked the teachers. Here we have 11. We can identify 11 morphemes. The functional, child, lexical. I'll explain this, okay? What's the difference between functional and lexical, okay? So here, when we say the functional, in English, we have two groups of words, the lexical and the functional. The functional, we are dealing with the grammatical words, like pronouns, articles, prepositions. And the lexical or the content words that carry meaning. We have 4: noun, verb, adjective, adverb. So that's, we will talk about them later, but this is just we explain the. So the is a grammatical word, so it is functional, because the functional words fixed and cannot be changed most of the time, unlike the lexical, which they carry meaning and can be changed. So S, inflectional, you see, we have the functional, child, lexical, and possessive S, inflectional. Wild, lexical, ness, N-E-double-S, derivational. We changed the adjective into a noun. Shock, lexical, I mean lexical item or content. Ed, inflectional for tense, past tense, ed, shocked. The functional, teach, lexical, er, derivational, changed word class from teach, verb, into teacher, the noun. Derivational, er, and inflectional S, and we end up with 11 morphemes. Okay? So this is a good exercise, and you need to practice a lot, especially you will be asked about these in your tests or exams. Let us talk in about more details about two important morphemes. The endocentric compounds, the endocentric compounds, and the exocentric compounds. As you know, when we have like bedroom, like whole meal, like, so we consider them compounds. In many compounds, the head determines the category and also constrains the meaning of the compound. As we said, bedroom, it's fixed. This is a room for bed. Not the room is a bed. So here, in many compounds, the head determines the category and also constrains the meaning of the compound. So dog food is a kind of food. Not is a kind of food, not a kind of dog. When we say dog food, it's not a kind of dog, but it's a kind of food. And yoga pants are a kind of pants, not a variety of yoga. It's not a type of yoga. You know, it's like kind of sports. Compounds like this, where the meaning relationship between the head and the whole compound is obvious, very clear, are called endocentric. Bedroom, okay. So a whole meal, for instance, dog food. So here, in many compounds, the head determines the categories also. So here we have dog and food. Food is the head, dog is the adjective. Okay. By the way, endocentric compounds, familiar in English, and they are more than the other type, which is what? Exocentric compounds. Let us see. But in some compounds, the meaning relationship is not so transparent, not very clear. For example, a red head. If we, in endocentric, we consider head is the head, and red is the adjective, but this is not the case here in endocentric. No, is a person. It's not that his head is red. No, is a person, not a kind of head. Not a kind of head, like bedroom, for instance. No, here when we say redhead, forget about that. This is the modifier and head. No, it is about a certain person. Okay, especially people with red heads. We're talking about the hair, red. Not a kind of head. A nest egg is not modifier head, no, is money that you've saved. They call it nest egg. So it's not endo, that's quite simple, but here, exocentric, you need to think about it again. It's not an endo, it is exo. A kind of egg. A workout is not a particular kind of out. And Facebook is not a book at all. When we say it's not a book, you know, Facebook. Compounds where the meaning of the head does not predict the meaning of the compound are said to be exocentric. This is a very good definition for you. Okay? Meaning of the compound are said to be exocentric. So the most common endocentric, and also there are some compounds they called exocentric, different. We do not consider the modifier and the head. Okay, a useful way, this is very important, to remember all these different types of morphemes. We sum up, we give a brief account. We will show you a very useful way just to be, you have to study it carefully and to give you a brief or a summary about affixation in English, the prefix and the suffix, and the function of each is in the following chart. We have morphemes, we have morphemes, fine. Morphemes are divided into two main parts, the free, the root, the lexeme, if you want. The kernel, used by Chomsky used the kernel. Bound morpheme does not stand on its own. He needs a free morpheme. If you say S, what is an S? It's an English letter. But if you say boys, oh, here S has a function. It's plural S. It indicates the plural. So S here is it's not derivational, it is functional. Okay? Free morpheme lexical and what? Functional. We'll come to this. Bound morpheme, derivational and inflectional. So boys, here we have, that's the inflectional morpheme, and teacher, ER, is the derivational. Inflectional and derivational. So morphemes, free, bound, free, lexical and functional, derivational, bound, derivational and inflection. Inflectional morphemes do not change the word class, but they inflected. For a lot of languages like Arabic is an inflectional. Okay? Fine. I'm going to finish but I'd like to highlight the lexical and functional. Content word types or lexical words. Content or lexical words are usually nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. 4. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. A noun tells us which object, a verb tells us about the action happening or the state. You know this in your grammar. And adjectives give us details about objects and people, and adverbs tell us how, when, or where something is done. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs give us important information. As I said, they carry meaning. Lexical items, they carry meaning, required for understanding. Noun, person, place, or thing. Verb, action, state. Adjective describes an object, person, place, or thing. Adverb tells us how, where, or when something happens. So, as I said before, so these are what the lexical, these are the what? The content word types. Okay. These are the lexical. Okay. Lexical words, 4, noun, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Function word types, the functional. Function words help us connect important information. Function words are important for understanding, but they add little meaning beyond defining the relationship between two words. Function words include auxiliary verbs, prepositions, articles, conjunctions, and pronouns. Auxiliary verbs are used to establish the tense. Prepositions show relationships in time and space. Articles show us something that is specific or one of many. And pronouns refer to other nouns. Auxiliary verb have help with conjunction of tense. Prepositions show relationship in time and space. Articles used to indicate specific or non-specific nouns. Conjunction words that connect. And pronouns refer to other nouns. I think so far we have a good idea about morphemes in English, and we have two types of morphemes, free and bound. We have two types of the free morphemes, the lexical and the functional. Bound morphemes, we have derivational and inflectional. You have to revise this again, and this is very important, and we have a lot of information, but try to revise them in order to can master these information, and they are vital not only for also for grammar or for other subjects. Thank you and see you soon.